And people don't want to talk about this because it's controversial, but it's true. Where you spend eternity is not based on how good a life you live. That's a lie. Because see, I don't know about you, but even on my best day, I ain't good enough.
That's right.
I'm talking about before my feet hit the floor. And I done said anything. I done thunk it. I mean, I hadn't even got started yet. But even on my best day, that's not good enough. When you realize that our eternity is based entirely on someone accepting Jesus and having a personal relationship with Him. That's what it comes down to. And you got to be bold enough, wherever you are, to say that and to mean it and to proclaim that. You know, the time has come for Christians to not only know what they believe, but they need to know why they believe it.
That's right.
They need to know why they believe it. You know, the days of being in and out of church and in and out of Christ are gone because the enemy has launched an all-out attack on you. You can no longer stand unstable and unsure. You can no longer be, you know, just kind of tossed to and fro with the winds. We have to be sure-footed in God, and that only comes through our understanding of what we know about His truth and His Word. It's time out for playing church. We got to truly be the church, and we got to know what that means. When you think about this, and I wrote this down because I didn't want to mess it up. Muslims believe in a God named Allah, and their standing is based on good works. Yep. See, the problem with that is they ain't got no good apart from Jesus. Yes. That's right. And the thing is, you don't either. You know, the Buddhists believe that there's no type of final existence, and there's countless rebirths. See, me, I don't think I can go through this great God-life adventure and then come back as a frog or a tree. And then here's what they mean. I went and looked this stuff up. They believe that karma and the evilness of your heart is the true root of what brings you back. Now, I don't know how your heart looked when it was for Jesus. I'm just saying. What they believe is based on the evilness and the desires of your heart. I think they said the destructive emotions, and I quote, the destructive emotions and the desires that's swayed by karma. I quote that. That's from their website, y'all. Don't go looking because they'll confuse you. But I took that right off their page. You know, think about Hindus. Hindus believe that God is approached through rules and statues and idols, and that all paths to God deserve to be tolerated and understood. I took that from their website too. Don't go there. They confuse you. These are their words. You're not reading. I went to their sites because I wanted to make sure I said what they said. Think about this one. A New Age person believes there is no God, but you are one with the cosmos. What does that mean? That's why they're confused. They don't even know. If you ever sit and have a conversation with one of them, they're in these circles, and they got all this stuff they memorized that ain't saying nothing. They're sounding like they educated, but nothing. So think about this. Not one of these things offer forgiveness of sins, no supernatural help, only karma, vibes, and feelings. What if your eternal security was based on how you felt? Or the vibe that you were sending out into the universe? You think about it, we have to know that we know what we know. You think about it, in the paper last week, it was talking about Mormons baptizing dead people. Come on now. I went to the site to see what they had to say, and they have a whole religion, a whole set of principles and guidelines on why they do it. Dead, morgue, baptism. This is going on today. This was in last week's paper. I heard Pastor Richard say it. I'm like, I don't read the paper, so I was like, I need to look that up. So I went to their site, pages and pages of stuff. We have to know the truth. And here's the thing, let's make it even more personal. A Jehovah's Witness will confuse you if you talk to them long enough. Don't act like y'all, they give you the track. Just take it. And you too nice, call me mean, and you'll say, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, I don't want to hurt my faith. Keep that. I got my track. And y'all taking them and laying them around, and your children reading them, your children confused. They asking you stuff, and you done brought that foolishness up into your house. And then they going to try to force. I remember one lady going in the parking lot, going like attack me. I'm like, hold on. I'm dressed in my armor, spiritually and physically. Best step off. But she was going to make me. She got confrontational with me. But she picked the wrong sister to fight with the word on. And I was already feeling some kind of way. So a good, healthy, spiritual confrontation was nice on my to-do list. So we done broke out with church in the parking lot at Food Line. People watching, it's a spectacle because I'm a little bit passionate by nature. So then you're going to basically tell me that I'm wrong with the word? Oh, it's on, baby. It's on. You sure? You want to poke that bear? You want to poke that bear right here. Girl, bring it. I'm sitting there ready. And I had on my workout clothes because I just left the gym. Adrenaline pumping. She hates you stopped me that day. I'm just saying. We got to know what we know. And when we get called on it, not be ashamed of what we believe.
That's right.
And don't let them get to the place. I'll never forget my sophomore year in college. I had a professor that was, when the first day of class, they asked us how many of us believe in Jesus and how many of us are saved. 3/4 of the class said yes. He said, you will not by the end of the semester. And you know what? By the end of the semester, it was probably just a few of us. But what happened, I wasn't a scientist and all that stuff he knew, and he would try to come at me with that. But at 19 years old, I always had a little sassiness about myself. I remember telling him, I don't know about that, but here's what I do know. So he would go, I don't know about that. But you better get built up on what you do know so that nobody can talk you out of it. Where you got a bulldog, pit bull mentality. And I don't care what you say. This is what I know. This is what I believe.
That's right.
And you're not going to talk me out of it. When you think about this, we have to know what, as a born-again believer, what we believe in and what we trust. We serve a personal God who loves his people so much that he became like them in the person of Jesus Christ. He lived without sin, died for the sins of the world, on the cross, and he rose again. You better know that. Even if you can't quote all the scriptures and tell you what gospels it all was, you need to know that. And when people poke holes at that, you just say, here's what I know. We need to believe, we need to know that we believe that people are not made right with God by going through idols, religious performances, or by being or doing good. That's not what we believe. But we do believe it's by faith in God's Son, Jesus, and Jesus alone. When they get to the place, young people, that you don't know how to answer and you know how to respond, Jesus. When they start talking about evolution and all this other stuff, you know what I taught my kids? That monkey is not your cousin.
That's right.
When your teacher, have I not told y'all that? That's it. We went to the zoo. I said, let me tell you something. I brought them all in front of her and I stood in front of them. That gorilla is not your cousin. We went through all of them. I remember Tim was laughing at me because he took pictures of me, videoing me in front. That is, do not ever let anybody tell you that's your cousin. Yes. And if they start debating with you and arguing with you on them, give them my number. You need to know that. Kids getting confused with evolution and stuff. Come on. Another subject. We ain't got there yet. Anyhow, this whole day, we are setting aside and recognizing Palm Sunday because it's going back to the Sunday right before the crucifixion of Jesus. We're looking at this week. And I wanted some people to know this because we say, I grew up in church my whole life and you hear Palm Sunday, but people didn't know what it was. So I want to read you what it is. It is the day we celebrate the triumphant entrance of Jesus into Jerusalem. It is 1 week before the resurrection. As Jesus entered the holy city, he neared the peak of a long journey toward Golgotha. We'll talk more about that next week. He had come to save the lost, and now was the time, this was the place, to secure that salvation. Palm Sunday marked the start of what is called Passion Week. We hear these words, we don't know what they mean. That's what that is. It's the final 7 days of Jesus' earthly ministry. We talk about the 30 years he lived and we didn't hear nothing. Then we hear the 3 years of intense ministry. This week, we're studying the last 7 days of his life here on earth. So that's what it brings us to today's text. And we're going to take it from Matthew 21, 1 through 11. Turn in the work with me on that. Because this tells the story. And we're going to talk through it. And I believe Pastor Richard has a couple points he wants us to kind of zero in on, because you can hear this story over and over again and get comfortable with it. And you've heard it and you can quote it, but you got to realize it is so full of so many nuggets and so many jewels that we got to keep digging them out. It reads as this: as they approached Jerusalem to come to on the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and at once you will find a donkey tied there, with her colt by her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, tell them the Lord needs them, and he will send them right away." This took place to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet. "Say to the daughter of Zion, see, your king comes to you, getting and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them, and Jesus sat on them. And a very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, while others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of the home were those who followed and shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna to the highest, in the highest." When Jesus entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred and asked, "Who is this?" "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee." When you look at this text, Jesus rode in on a donkey as prophesied in Zechariah 9:9. And here's what it said: "Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey." And here's what people don't realize. Zechariah was written close to about 518 BC, and Matthew was written in like 60 to 65 AD.
Hallelujah.
Y'all get this? This wasn't like a week ahead. How many?
640.
I don't have that type of math, but he said over 640 years. A long time. And this was, think about this was coming, when we opened up in the text, it was talking back to that quote. And Jesus, think about this is not new to Jesus. Where he was, he knew this road. Where he's traveling to was very familiar to him. You know, he traveled this road with his mother and his father every single year to go to this feast. This is the same road that he traveled years with his disciples doing ministry and work. He knew where he was. He knew the area. He knew where he was going. It wasn't like he was in a foreign area. This like it was his home territory. He knew his track. But I want you to picture this. He was traveling over the mountains to Bethany, and which was also very familiar to him, because see, Bethany is where Lazarus and Mary and Martha were. So I'm trying to paint a picture of a very familiar territory. He saw the Mount of Olives over here, which separated the holy city from the desert. When you look to the other side, there's the wall that Nehemiah built. So you can imagine him picturing everything that had been said and that had been written. Then over there was the temple, which was overflowing with people getting ready to celebrate the Passover. So as he's coming in on this donkey, this is what he sees. He's coming into all of this. You know, when people say, well, what is the Passover? People say that, but people don't really understand what these terms mean. And the Passover is a major Jewish spring festival observing the children of Israel getting out of slavery. Yeah. And we read about this in Exodus 14, and this happened like in 1400 BC. So this feast is celebrating something that happened all those years ago. Do you see history coming together, and it's climaxing for such a time as this? These moments were filled with so